That's what you're wearing for an interview? I look like I'm joining the circus, but that's
Love the circus
okay. Oh my God.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick intro. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. And you guys know I love to occasionally do interviews with fabulous kings and queens that I like to pick their brain and just know, how they live and how they think, their own unique perspective on life. And so I have my friend with me, Connie, today. Her name is Connie Ryan. I've known her for many, many years. We were the scandalous ones at church together. And what do they call it? The hot press.
I don't think scandalous is the word, but just go with it.
Yeah, basically Connie and I always showed up at church in, high heels, full makeup, and ready to rock. So it didn't matter. And Connie introduced me to thrift store shopping and, we're actually really getting good stuff, like not playing around, like real, like designer stuff. And she's a wonderful, beautiful daughter and a wonderful husband, Jeff and Layla. So I'm sure they'll watch this at some point. And last time in the interview, I talked with Connie a lot about her marriage, and we love Jeff. He's very scrumptious, but I have a feeling I'm going to be picking her brain more about the stuff that she's doing, even outside of her beautiful.
We're going to open the closet.
Open the closet. But I guess just to start it off without us going too far into it, maybe Con, just tell them, well, before we get started, just tell them where they can find you. We'll do it at the end again, but just any, like your email link and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, my email link is ConnieFia, ConnieFia @yahoo.com. If anybody feels like I don't get any emails. So if you want to talk about something, you can email me there.
Anything else, Connie, that they can see, just link to you at all in social media?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but that's about it, really. I don't do too much social media because I'm old and I'm not very technical. So I have to do old school. Like I'm really just one notch up from 2 cups with a string. So my daughter bought me a new iPhone, and it's like, I don't even know how to work all the buttons on that thing. So I'm learning like probably 10-year-olds know more than I do.
What is your Instagram and your Facebook if they want to look you up?
The Facebook is Connie Mecca, Mecca Ryan. That's my maiden name. And my Instagram is, what is it? I don't know. My daughter set it up. I think it's just Connie Ryan, actually.
Okay.
But there can't be that many Connie Ryans, but I have a big bouffant fascinator in black on my head. Nobody else is wearing one of those, so just look for that lady.
Okay, awesome. And I'll go ahead, guys, and put it in the description box below. I'll look it up and get all the right links so that you guys can connect with Connie. And she's going to talk about her home-based career and stuff like that. But before we start, I'm always proud when people, aren't divorced. It's a rare thing.
There's more divorces than marriages, I guess. Well, there's a lot of marriages. That's not the problem. It's staying married is the problem.
So I always like to brag a little when I have friends that have made it past, like the 20-year mark is when I get impressed.
It's an accomplishment. It's not easy. I mean, it's a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of compromise, but that's what the glue is. And the glue, actually, I take that back, scratch that. It's really, if it weren't for our Christian faith and for God, that's the glue. We would probably have not made it because we were very young. We were only 17 and 19. And, we got married in the church. We met in the church. And when we got married, who really, I knew what I wanted because I always knew what I wanted. I didn't really aspire to anything career-wise. I didn't want to go to college and have a fancy job and have my own apartment. No, I just wanted to find my man, get married, and have a family and a home, and just be. I really just wanted to be a mom and just serve my family and make it work. And I'm very, very proud of the accomplishments that we've had, because we've had every single thing thrown at us, from health, wealth, you name it, it's happened. And we're going to be going on 48 years in a few more weeks, months. So we're right there. So I'm just excited because we're approaching the half century mark, which I'm delighted, because I never thought I would make it there. But and that wasn't really because I didn't think we were going to make it. It was mostly because I was diagnosed with a terminal illness 25 years ago, and I didn't think I was going to be living that long. So I never ever thought I'd be here in any sense, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I'm grateful to God for everything.
Yes. You just when things like that happen, you just can't take life for granted, and you just
No.
savor every moment. What I mean, let's just talk about you. Why is Jeff so in love with you for 50 years? What you like brag? What is it about you?
He's in the other room, because he'd be going, what?
What is it about you that got your man and kept him for 50 years? Be
Listen,
real.
I'm Italian. We're in the mafia. He has no way out. Okay. He's stuck with me no matter what. I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. My father talked to him, and it's all history from there. He's afraid. He's very afraid.
Right.
No, you know what? We're very different, but we're very alike. We have a lot of commonality, and I think that really, luckily for me, because I love bling and doodah, and he does too. So, so I think I married a part Liberace over there, because he loves chandeliers and Baroque, and we can move into Versailles and be totally content. But there's a lot of things that, I like to do things fast and do things. I'm very, very procrastinator. He's a procrastinator. I'm just super pragmatic. Let's just get from A to B as fast as we can. Don't read the instructions. I don't care about the instructions. Let's just get it done. And he's like, no, we got to get the proper tools. We got to lay it all out. We got to watch some YouTube videos. That makes me out of my mind. But we make it work. After a few arguments, we make it work.
So basically, is that a fancy way of saying in a strange way, we do complement each other, and we are very
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In that sense, we do, and it's also recognizing or surrendering to the other person when they know more than you. I mean, some people in some marriages, I know husbands that don't let their wives do anything because they want to do it all, and they don't think she has any contribution, which is a travesty, because God gave you the other half of that coin for a reason. Men work with the analytical, and the women bring the heart to the table, and that's what makes the blend. So I think in that sense, yeah, we do complement each other, and it's recognizing when the other person has this much more brains than you do. So and not being ashamed to say, take the ball, you go on this one. So it works out that way. Otherwise, you can't be just unbalanced in that. I mean, because I've seen it happen in a lot of my friends' marriages, and the poor wife or the poor husband. I mean, I've seen women that think they're the man, and their poor husband is carrying the purse, and it's horrible. It's just when you see it, and it's just out of whack, and it's stay in your lane and do your job. It's like, stop being nutty. I don't know. I don't like that either. I like the man to be the man, the lady to be the lady, and don't cross those lines.
Yeah, like you guys kind of stay in your own lanes, but yet at the same time, I mean, I've known you for a long time, and if there's one thing I would say is, like, you've never been afraid to be yourself. You have your lanes, you have your certain, expectations and boundaries. You'll push the line, but only as far as you feel comfortable. And
oh yeah, I know when I've gone too far. I think all women do. I mean, when you're getting close, when you're like, okay, this is the time I need to just shut up now, because the conversation's going nowhere. And at our house, it's a baseball terminology, but we're on the 3 strikes, you're out. So it's like I'll just keep, at it. Like if I want something or want him to help me do something, and I'll just keep asking. He's like, I'm not doing it right now. That's 1. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this done. That's 2. When I get to 3, we're not getting it done. So it's like, then I have to go hire somebody because it's not going to happen. But so I've learned the 3 strikes you're out. And I know when I get to 1, I can maybe keep it going. When I get to 2, I can already see it coming. I'm like, forget it.
Yeah. It's, I guess, that feminine wisdom. But I think, I think what makes for a successful relationship, whether it be a marriage or a friendship, is the ability to be yourself and to live your full self, full out, without apology. And that's what I meant by that, of like, Connie has her certain, her beliefs and all of that, which is so beautiful. But at the same time, she's never been afraid to just be herself and just own it. And to have a husband that gets that is essential.
Yeah. And you don't want someone stifling your personality. Just because you're married and you become one flesh does not mean that you stop being who you are. I mean, for all the reasons that he or she fell in love with their partner, we tend to, because I always used to say that, because what he loved about me was that I was animated and loud and crazy, because he really wasn't like that. And you're attracted to that because it's the opposition of you. But that is also the thing after years that he will hate you for. It's like, shut up, sit down. Shouldn't you just be quiet for 5 minutes and stop doing things? It's like, so it is that way. And they always say that girls marry their father. Well, let me tell you, that's my dad all day long, because my mom was just like me. She was like a spinning top, a little Tasmanian devil, and she would do 100 things a day. And she would ask my dad 1,000,000 times to help her do this, that, or the other thing. And my dad would be like, what's your hurry? Sit down, take a load off. Let's just relax. We'll do it tomorrow. And it made my mom out of her ever loving mind all the time. And my list is this long to see how much I can get done. His about this big. It's like, let's see how little we can do today. If it's what he likes to do, then we're good. We can go all day. But he's not a joiner inner, he's not like, hey, let me help you do that. But I don't mind. I mean, I ask for very little because I don't expect that much, because I know his personality and he knows mine. That's what I'm getting back to too, is that, once God made each one of us unique, and we have certain gifts and abilities, and we appreciate those in each other, and whatever I lack, he has, and same thing the other way around, so it works nice. And that's the complementing of one another is the beauty of a relationship. And that's what I think God had totally intended for us too. So,
well, I remember your mom, Connie, and I mean, that's angel. Just an angel. And I never once saw her without her looking at me in the eye and just saying, darling, I love you.
I love you. That was her favorite. She said that to everyone. We used to think and it was funny because, she lived till she was 91, God love her. But when she had passed, even up till the year before, she really couldn't speak much at all. We didn't even, I know she knew who we were, but she didn't really communicate. But if somebody would come to our house and we would introduce her, even she in her wheelchair, and she would put her hand on them. And that was the only thing she ever remembered saying, I love you, honey. She said that literally probably almost the day she died. And it was her tagline. You're not the only person. I've had friends, even on Facebook, that, will say something like, oh my God, your mom was so sweet. She always used to say, I love you, honey. And she said it to everybody. And she was such a kind soul. I don't ever remember her gossiping about anybody. I don't ever remember her being mad at anybody. She lived her life happy and smiley every day. And God love her. I wish I had that in me, because I try to be that way, but people are nuts and they aggravate you. And it's hard to not want to punch someone in the belly sometimes. But I kind of just want to think back, because that's the way everybody that knew her remembered her. And I thought, what a beautiful way for people to, even though you've been gone for, years now, it's people remember that about her. And come on, that's like that's when, God would say, well done, good and faithful, because she showed the love of Christ to everybody, and she didn't care who they were. You could be, totally rich. We had friends that were movie stars in Hollywood that were very, very wealthy, and we were dirt poor. I mean, we had nothing, but my people gravitated to my mom just because of this open arm, open door policy that she had. That, if you lost everything, when my father was on unemployment, she would go with him to the unemployment office. She didn't drive. She didn't even know how to drive. So she would go with him to the unemployment office just to get out of the house. And she met a family there. She was talking with the wife outside with 6 kids. We didn't even know these people. They came and lived with us. They moved in with us that day. That's the way she was.
Yeah.
There was tons of people we never knew at our house because she would drag home. It was like stray people, but that was just her way. And God, I would love to have that in me, that I would just be that open, but those were different times when we were little. I mean, we're talking 60 years ago, and you can't do that stuff now because everyone's half out of their mind. You can't be bringing people home to it with you, but just to be able to see a need in someone and try to fill it the best you can, even though you don't have anything yourself. That's just the way she was. She would give them anything we had, and she was just the best person. I mean, if you could be
she was stunning too. She's just a beautiful woman. I mean, even to her last day. I
know.
I mean, she had the makeup on. She had to the last day.
I know. She was so adorable.
So beautiful.
I remember at her 85th birthday, we had her hair all done up. She had her big diamondy earrings on, and she was wearing this low cut red dress. And she was, she only weighed 80 pounds. So she was real tiny, but she was really shapely, but she looked adorable. And I have that picture, actually, it's on her. I made her an urn, but I have her picture on there, but everyone that sees it goes, how old was she there? And I'm like, 85. And they're like, 85. I mean, she looks like she was going to the Miss America contest.
Right.
But yeah, she was adorable. She was so sweet and cute.
Well, yeah. I mean, and age really, I've learned this now that I'm in my 40s. Age really is just a number. It really is.
Yeah.
And
I know.
I mean, I talk about it all the time. I never did Botox or anything. I just kept it joyful, kept it moving, and
that's it right there. It's a lot of it is your attitude. I mean, we can sit and complain. I was thinking about what you said when you want to talk about beauty or routines or whatever. And I was thinking that I don't really have any kind of routine for beauty. I scrub my face, I put my makeup on, I'm gone. I don't think about it. I don't have all these regimes, and I just don't have that. I mean, I have all the products, but I don't really make a habit of it. I was just like my mom. My mom washed her face with Ivory soap. She put egg whites on it for a mask, and then she'd wash it off. She put Pond's, which was $2, and she would go, but she didn't have a wrinkle on her face all the way up to 91 years old. But what made her beautiful, I think, is it's up here. It has nothing to do with what you put on over here. It's the attitude and that joy. When it's internal, it comes out. And that's what that is the beauty of a woman, I believe, is that when you see women like it, even in other countries, women like in Italy and in France, they don't worry about, I got a couple of gray hairs. They're not freaking out. They don't do Botox over in those countries. They're not obsessed with it like we are here. Their beauty is internal. They live a good life. They love their family. They love their food. They are just happy to wake up in the morning and have their health. And we've strayed off that so far that unless we all look alike and have 10,000 things of plastic surgery and just the latest makeup and trying to look like the Kardashians or whatever, it's just ridiculous, and I lived in Newport Beach for a lot of years, and nothing against it. I loved living there, but literally you go to the store, every woman was like Stepford Wives. They looked, if you didn't have that whole package, it was almost like you felt inferior, and there was really no reason to. It was ridiculous, but I try to think about that whenever I get past the mirror and I'm mad at my face. It's like, what happened here? Because, you feel one way inside, and then you pass the mirror and this doesn't match the inside. And, I feel good, and you do the best you can with what you've got. This is the way God made us. And it's very insulting for us to really complain. I try to catch myself from doing that because I think, this is the package God gave me. I'm 5 feet tall. God, would I give anything to be 5'3", I would be a raging giant. It's like, I mean, I'm 5 feet and that's it. And we crammed it all in there. And I would love to have beautiful, long, gorgeous hair. And I mean, just all of it. But, it is what it is. And you do the best with what you've got. And I think, like we talked about, that the beauty is really what comes out. It's this. It's like what my mom had. That's the beauty. The beauty is just being yourself and being the woman God made you to be, and being content in that package, and stop looking for the next thing to try and fix what's going on. We're all going to get old. We're all going to look. I had black hair my whole life, and that's my natural color. But now I'm so gray. I'm like, forget it. I'm letting it all go. So I'm just trying to, I don't know what happened this time, because I'm a mess right now. But anyway, needless to say, it's like, just do the best with what you got. That's the best beauty tip you could possibly have, is just be yourself, be happy, be joyful, and embrace people, and just try to teach younger women that, instead of them constantly trying to model themselves after these fake plastic people. I mean, I'm not saying the Kardashians aren't a beautiful family. They are. They're stunning. They're probably some of the most beautiful women in the world, but they're not even themselves. I mean, they've done everything from the attic to the basement. It's like, and they have the money to do it. But, what is that? I mean, look at their love lives. A travesty. They've all had 1,000 men and all the husbands cheat on them. I mean, it's like, they can't. How could you be that beautiful and you can't keep a man? What's the problem here? It's like, because once you get past the face and the body, it's what's left. That's the glue that keeps a man around, is what is inside, because all this is going to go away at some point.
It's so true. I think well, I think pretty and beautiful and gorgeous is it's an essence. It's something that radiates from the soul through the personality, through the beauty of the woman. It's sort of inside and outside and everything in between. But even myself, I would never for a moment think that my looks alone could keep a friend or a man or anyone in my life. To me, I lead with my soul and my personality.
Yeah.
Now, I had
too much pressure. It's too much pressure.
Yes. I know you're the same way. I know you really lead with your personality and just being yourself, and how you said with your mom, she was just magnetic. She basically, what you said, she wooed people with her love.
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
she did.
Yeah.
And she won everyone over.
And feeding them. She didn't care if you just came from a 7-course meal, you're going to eat something. So it's like, she would chase people around with a pot. Everyone, my friends used to say, remember when your mom used to chase us with the pan trying to make us eat? So because she thought that everybody is, if you have a good full belly of something delicious, who could not be happy? It's like, come on. I mean, we didn't get this size by saying no thank you. Okay.
So Connie, tell us the general, we'll call it workout / morning routine. Just tell people your morning routine, just
Oh,
make
God.
and healthy.
Isn't that a sad state? Well, I gave up trying to make my workout produce something in me outwardly, because it's not happening. I do a 15-minute stretch routine, and I try to jog 2 miles a day. But I thought, stupid me, that I was going to actually transform my Gumby body into something else, but it didn't happen. But once I realized that wasn't working, I just do it now for my heart. I do it for my guts on the inside, that I know it's good for me. And it's only for that reason, because it is true. The old saying, you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And that's absolutely true. The stretching is critical, because as you age, one of the most detrimental things for elderly people, because I live in a senior complex, is they fall. And they fall because they lose their balance. And they lose their balance is because they lose their strength. Mm-hmm. And that comes from never being more sedentary. You've got to keep moving, because that's what keeps people active. It keeps everything lubricated. I mean, I take vitamins, obviously, but the I did notice a huge difference in my sleep pattern and my breathing, even because sometimes I get heart palpitations. But for me, if I keep up my stretching, which is amazing because I'm going to be 66, but I can still do the splits, which is for me an accomplishment. But I try to do everything that I can just to keep the engine and everything going, because outside, all this running, all this stretching, I look the same. Let's be honest. I'm not changing anything there, but I like it because I resolved that I have to do it, period. It's not to look, I'm not wearing a bikini anymore. This is not bathing suit worthy, but I do it just for my health and you have to do everything you can because, God gave us his body and we're supposed to care for it. And I eat good, but I also like my junk, I will eat candy. I do have hot fudge sundaes. I mean, I like what I like. So even more so, I've got to do, even if you just power walk to half an hour a day, it makes an unbelievable difference in everything about you.
So do you eat everything in moderation, or are there things that you don't eat, or do you have a pretty moderate diet, would you say?
Well, I try to eat good, and even one of my doctors said, if you can eat good 95% of the time, and the other 5%, like if you want a cheeseburger, go get it. It's not going to be the end of the world. Don't make a habit of it. Don't go there every day. But if you want a hot fudge sundae, go have it, and to not overeat. Because that's not, it's so unhealthy to overeat because your body, you're putting so much stress on it to just digest a meal. So if you just try and keep everything to smaller portions. Dolly Parton, I learned that from her a million years ago. She keeps that figure. And she said, I don't have anything off the table. I eat everything. She said, but I don't eat anything bigger than the palm of my hand. Mm-hmm. She said, I can have ice cream. I can have pizza. I can have whatever I want. But she only eats the size of the palm of her hand. And she said, and that's how I stay like this. But she said, I won't diet. She doesn't diet. She doesn't believe in it. And it's totally true. I mean, everything in moderation is so critical because we become a nation of supersizing everything we eat. There's not anything you can't buy, but you can't get the tumbler for it or the big, and our plates. What is with the dishes? I'm telling you, you go to anywhere and try to buy flatware or dishes, the plates are getting bigger and the plates are now the size of the charger. I came to that conclusion. When I buy, because I love vintage dishes and pottery, but when I buy the vintage dinner plates, they're literally 8 inches. That was the dinner plate. We are up to like a good 14-inch plate now. It's just, even if you go to like any restaurant that serves an abundance of food, like Claim Jump or whatever, they bring you out a serving platter that should be for a family, but that's all for you. So we've just gotten to the place where big is not better. I mean, it's just not. And we need to kind of dial it back. That's why they say if you're trying to really correct what goes in your mouth, don't pull out the dinner plates, even our dinner plates. You pull out the dessert dish and load it up, and that's what you're going to eat. And because that other plate, it's like, if it's there, I'm eating it because I have a ferocious appetite. I love food. I have an addiction to it. And we went to In-N-Out Burger yesterday and I had a burger and fries. And then we were running around. We did a million errands. And then we went to Sam's Club on the way home. And so when we got in there, I was thinking I should be full. But my chef goes, well, let's just get the frozen yogurt. So we got the frozen yogurt. We're walking around doing our shopping, eating our yogurt. And before I left there, I got that big slab of pizza. I was like, but he's like, you're not full. And I'm like, nope. I love food. And it's, I don't know, bread, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's all over. Yeah.
Well, you're Italian, so
I can't stop. I can't stop. I think about it all the time. I'm like, what is the matter with you? Is there something wrong with your stomach that you're constantly hungry? I love food though.
Well, in terms of like your beauty routine, do you ever skip a day, like doing your makeup and hair, or do you go 7 days a week full out? Like what's your
full out girl? I don't even want to look at this face. Makeup. I'm sure I'm not going to torture the rest of the world. No, and that's like I don't have to put on everything, but you just wash your face. I put on my foundation. I put on, you know, a little bit of foundation on my cheeks, and I don't do a whole face. I just do my cheeks, dink, blush, lipstick, gone. And, you know, mascara. I don't take my mascara off every night. That's one thing I don't do. I wash my face every night, which I'm diligent about that. I never go to bed with anything on my face, but I don't take my mascara off every night. I wash around it and I wash off of it, but because that's a pain in the neck. And I have a mascara that stays on for 2 or 3 days, so I don't worry about it. But yeah, and I scrub my face. It's like a Brillo pad. There are these Korean washcloths. I'm sure people know what they are, but a lot of people don't, because I say it and they're like, what? It's a little sleeve that fits on your hand and they're bright green. You get like 4 of them for $4. They're so cheap. I order them on Amazon, but when it goes on your hand, you literally could scrub the grease off of a pot with them. They're like sandpaper. They're so rough. It's like the backside of a bad scratchy sponge, but I scrub my face with that thing like a maniac. It's almost, I don't need an exfoliator, and I don't need, you know, what are those little things called? You know, the scrubs. Like when you get apricot scrub or whatever, it has those little rocks in it. Well, you don't need that anymore, because this thing, and when you're done scrubbing your face and you rinse it off, it is like glass. I never, ever have dead skin on my face because that thing is wicked. And I love it. I've been using it for years, but my friends are like, you are ruining your skin. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I absolutely love that thing. So that's the one thing I do wash my face with. And then I have very dry skin. So I put tons of oil on my face. I don't use creams too much. I do use creams if I'm sleeping on a certain pillowcase or whatever, but I put a lot of oil on my face every day. So that's about it, really. And then I don't really do, you know, once every couple of weeks, I'll do like a little mask or something, but I don't, not super like, oh, my face, you know, I'm busy hanging a chandelier. I don't have time for that.
Well, that's amazing, Connie. And yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about, like, when it comes to plastic surgery and things like that, I have no judgment at all. I could care less. I only feel like natural women should let other women know it is okay.
Yeah.
Age gracefully and just to take care of yourself and get good skincare and get the oils, just as an option for women that either don't have the money to spend, or they're afraid to do something like that, or they just don't want to. They just want to age gracefully and just take care of themselves and work out and, you know, just do their thing and be confident.
I'm terrified of plastic surgery. I mean, literally, if I would, Jeff wanted to pay for me to have a facelift years ago. He goes, just go, just get a little, you know, and but I'm not so much afraid of the surgery. I'm terrified of anesthesia. Terrified of it. There's something about it that's very abnormally nutty to me. To put someone in an unconscious state chemically it's just scary to me. I don't know why. I don't like it at all. So my sister says the same thing. And my sister's like, if they could just do that facelift with me awake. And I said, I'm the same way. Can't you just put a little numbing cream and
right
it over there? It's like, but because my sister loves surgeries anyway. I mean, she could watch anything. They operated on her leg and she stayed awake. When she literally was watching the doctor do the whole thing, and she was fascinated. I mean, she could have helped him sew it up, but she doesn't get squeamish about that. And I don't either, really, but I could never be put to sleep to do it. That would terrify me. And then you see so many botched up jobs. It's like, are you kidding me? That's like, oh Lord. Because there's no going back. Once this is done, you can't go reverse, you know?
Right. So, you know, to each his own. And I think the important thing is that you're staying, you know, anyone is staying healthy and beautiful. But, so tell us a little bit about, I want to talk again, because I think it's so great about your little home-based businesses. And sometimes I know they're not so little and you've got big projects and things. So just how are you making money from home, Connie? What do you do?
You know, I don't really call it a business. I mean, because I don't do it every single day, but I mean, I buy things or I have things, because I like to rotate all things in my house I'm always upgrading, because here's the problem. I don't have the money to buy the exact thing that I want because it's out of my range. So I'll buy imitation or the knockoff. But then as I see something at an estate sale or whatever, I'll purchase that. And, then the other one goes out. I'm only married to it for a little while because I'm on the upgrade. So I just am always upgrading whatever things that I have. So then that item, I will, put it out there for some other girl to enjoy for a while.
Yeah.
So I just buy little things like that I can upgrade at my house, and then I turn around and sell the other one. So, I enjoy doing that, and I clean out my closet religiously because I only shop at like Goodwills or Salvation Army or garage sales. That's the only place. I got this blouse. I'm sorry, you can't tell. It looks like I belong in, the Cirque du Soleil or something. But anyway, needless to say, it is the most gorgeous silk, and you can't really see it all, but it's so pretty. But it is from Paris. It still had the tags on it. And I think I paid $3.99 for it at Salvation Army. And I still have the tag. I haven't even taken the tags out. It's in the back of my neck. I'm leaving it there because if I ever decide to sell this blouse was like $195 and I got it for like $3. So I only shop at, cheapy places because I loved a variety of clothing. And I have tried and tried to be like those minimalist girls that have like 10 things in their closet.
Right.
I don't have 10 of anything. Okay. I have 100 of everything.
Right.
So for me, but I don't care how much I have for the simple fact that I didn't pay nothing for it. So, and a lot of my stuff, some of my most favorite thing has came off of somebody's driveway at a garage sale. And I've gotten gorgeous vintage leopard bathing suits for $25. I get incredible stuff. I have Christian Dior jackets. I have beautiful things. But I have to keep weeding out because I have so much. So I'll make a whole rack of brand new gorgeous stuff and I'll sell the whole rack for $100. So I don't care. It's like, I didn't even pay that for it, so I make a little bit of money and I get rid of the stuff. But so it's easy for me to, if I feel myself needing a few bucks, that I'll just look around and go, I can get rid of that now. So I just grab something off a shelf and sell it.
Yeah.
So,
and then you estate sales too, right?
Yeah, I help the people in my neighborhood because there's seniors in here, and I try to help a lot of the ladies in here, close out their estate and stuff. And it's mostly I do it because I really want to bless them because they're so sweet, and a lot of them, are in situations where they don't have a lot of family here or nearby. And sometimes, they pass away and their family doesn't even know anybody to help. And so but a lot of people in here know me. So they go, oh, Connie can help you do that. So I do that on the side a little bit too. So it's fun. It's really a labor of love because I don't really make, they give me a little bit of money, but it's not like, it's not real, I wouldn't call it a business, but I still love helping them because I think about if that was my mom, I would want someone to be helping her,
Oh, that's sweet.
So that's it really. I could go get a job, but why? I'm just not, what, there's that book, I've mentioned this to you before. It's called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. It's the best book. I read it a million years ago. And your job, your occupation, you spend so many hours of your life doing. Why do something you don't enjoy?
Right.
If you're not liking it, you're wasting all those hours. And I don't even care about the money. It's not even about, why would you do something you hate for a lot of money?
Right.
I can't even imagine that. I want to go and you want to get up in the morning and have a purpose and a reason. You can't wait to get to work because you enjoy it so much. Yeah. And so you don't make, you're not going to be a millionaire. Who cares? It's like, that's overrated too. Big deal. The more you have, the more, because the more you have, the more you got to maintain. And truthfully, if you're going to save it, that's one thing, but people usually live right up to their money. They live, I know so many people that have a lot of money, but they're in a lot of debt. They spend right up to that amount instead of saying, you can read that book too, The Millionaire Next Door. It's about the little guy drives the, 1990 minivan, and you wouldn't think he has two nickels to rub together, and he still mows his own lawn, and he's got millions of dollars in the bank. Why? Because he lives like that.
Right.
He keeps it under the radar, and he can do whatever he wants. He's got financial freedom.
Right.
When you put your head on your pillow at night, you don't owe anything to anybody.
Yeah.
And that is you can't put a price on that. It's invaluable. And that's the way Jeff and I live our lives. We don't have any debt. He used to make a lot of money, and we're seniors now. We live on Social Security, and we got rid of everything. We had 3 cars. We got rid of 2 of the cars. We sold our boat. He sold his Harley. I mean, we don't have anything. We don't have any debt. We don't really do credit cards. We don't have anything. And we paid off our home. So that is where everybody wants to be. Who could not have a smile on your face for that life? Not in this day and age, because it's not very many people live that, So
Yeah, that
it
piece.
takes a lot of discipline, though. Believe me, in the beginning, when we were actually forced to do this. It wasn't like we voluntarily did it, but I mean, because Jeff's company took a hard left, and he went with a bunch of other guys. They all went. So he lost his job, and then I lost my job. And then we had our dream home with all the toys, and we were both making a lot of money, and it all went away. And so we had to sell our home that was our dream home, which I thought was our forever home, because we fixed it up the way we wanted it to live out our life, but we couldn't maintain it. So, when you don't have an income coming in, how many people are 3 months away from being homeless? Because once the money stops, you don't have anything, So, but I mean, now that we're here at this point in our lives, we had to make severe adjustments. I mean, we didn't even have cable for 5 years. We didn't have anything. I mean, we watched DVDs that we had, and we watched them over and over and over again, because we didn't have cable, and we didn't want to. Everything that you can cut, you need to cut. I don't do my nails. I don't get pedicures. This is a box dye. Hello, this is why I look this way. And it's just, but we don't spend money where we don't need to. We don't have gardeners. We don't, nothing. I mean, every single thing that we can do ourselves, we do, because I just don't. And I've gotten extremely frugal now. Now it's like, no, when that 20 goes in the wallet, it's not coming out for anything. So, and I still shop the way I shop. I shopped that way even when I had a lot of money. I still went to thrift stores and stuff. My friends are like, why? They're all going to Fashion Island. And I'm like, no. And they're like, but it's only $59. And I'm like, yeah, that's $59, you idiot. It's like, I don't spend money like that at all. I treated myself to a coat this week that I loved, and it was $60. And I was like, you don't even know what it took for me to take out 320s. It was like, I don't want to do that. But I did it because I fell in love, and I want to look like the girl in the picture. So
I was a splurge.
Splurge. It was a huge splurge. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like, I think it's like when a woman can make it fun, whatever is fun for them. Like you make it fun, like a game. And again, not everybody wants to be a multimillionaire. There's a lot that comes with it, like,
huge responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody wants, a house on the beach. There are some people that would prefer to go backpacking. There's some people that prefer to shop at Goodwill because they get, their Chanel stuff there. So I just feel like it's like this is why I never judge like the lifestyle someone has. The only question I have is, are you having fun? Is it fun for you? If not, you have to flip it up. But other than that, like,
the thrift stores are not the thrift stores of the olden days anyway. They found out my secret, and now I have so much competition that you pull up in front of Salvation Army and it is Porsches, Mercedes. I mean, it's like those people with the clunkety car and the headliner hanging down, they're not there anymore. Right. They don't even shop there. This is all dealers that are or women. I have a friend that lives in Newport Beach, and she's been my friend for 40 years, but she literally could buy anything she wants. They have the money to do so, and they live in a glorious life in a big mansion, but she lives at Goodwill because she understands, why would I go buy a Louis Vuitton in Neiman Marcus for $3,000 or $4,000 when I could go straight over here to Goodwill and get it for $14.99? It's like, and she does. She calls me every time she gets a fabulous find, and she's so excited about it. And God love her. I mean, it's like, she has the means to, but why? I mean, it's just stupid. It's just stuff anyway. And in 6 months, somebody on social media is going to be telling you that's a piece of crap. You need to get rid of that now because nobody's going to be seen in it. It's like, give me a break. I've got stuff in my closet that I've had for 40 years. And when I pull it out, people think, oh my God, where'd you get that? And I'm like, I've had this thing forever. But it's, no one knows that this blouse was $3.99. No one does. They're going to go, oh my God, I love, not everyone's going to say they love it because it does look like bozo now that I'm looking at it, but I love the color. So I was like, okay, I'm getting it. But I can look like I have a gazillion dollars and I don't have any. I live on Social Security. So it isn't about having the money. It's about having an attitude of what you put on and owning it. And just, you know, you can put on a gunny sack and belt it up with a gold belt and just sport that baby, because people will look at you like, if you're confident in what you're wearing, no one's going to bat an eye. They're not going to even think that it isn't. Do you remember that Lucy episode where her and Ethel, when they were somewhere, they were in Europe or something, and her and Ethel wanted to buy couture dresses, but they didn't have any money because everything was so expensive. And then, Ricky and Fred had told them to make these gunny sack dresses. They told the designers if they could make these gunny sack dresses with these feed bags for horses for the hats. They were walking down the street and they were saying how that was the latest style. So Ethel and Lucy went and bought those gunny sacks. It was hilarious. But I feel like that every time I watch that episode, I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly my world. It's like, just grab anything and just doll it up and go. It's like, because if you're looking at it like, yeah, I look good, everyone else is going to think so too.
Connie, where do you think you got your confidence from? Was it from like other women in your family, or was it like you've hit certain road bumps along the way and just chose to go straight forward with what you wanted? Was it life? What gave you that kind of confidence?
It's a little bit of all that. It literally is a little bit of all that. I mean, my mom was famous for this because, like I said, we grew up very, very poor, but my mom could make anything. She was a fantastic seamstress. She used to sew couture dresses for models, runway models, and she sewed for a bunch of stores on Balboa Island. But she taught us to sew when we were like 7. Me and my sister had to learn to sew because if you wanted anything fancy, you know, it's like we had to make it. But no one knew we didn't have the money. I mean, people thought we were bazillionaires, and because we looked it, but we would go buy drapes and rip, just like in Gone with the Wind. I mean, whatever fancy fabric we could get, we would make it into something. So that, when you have the gift or the tools to be able to do something like that, that gives you confidence. I mean, it does, because you're thinking, you know what? I don't need to go do what she did and spend that kind of money. I'm going to look just as good in using this drapery that a lady threw away. And my mom would take everything. Everybody gave my mom something. So we had all kinds of resources of stuff that we could make into things, but it just took a little work and ingenuity. But I did get, I think, my confidence from my mom, because my mom didn't know she was poor. I think she did, but she never let anybody else know that that was the case. She was so happy and content with what she had, and she made it beautiful. People used to come to our house and think we were totally rich. And we were like, if you only knew, we're the school's taking up canned good collections for our family because we didn't have anything. But nobody ever was the wiser, because my mom never bragged about being poor. She never cared about whining about it, you know, because it was like, what was it going to do her? And I love Sophia Loren. Sophia Loren, you know, I have a poster that I bought a long time ago of her, and it says, everything you see, I owe to spaghetti. And it's like, it's totally true, because she is just herself, and she's beautiful. She's beautiful even now, and she's almost 90 years old, and she's stunning. But through her whole career, she was always just her. And I think confidence is the most beautiful attribute any woman could have, because when you start feeling inferior, or you allow other people to make you feel that way, you just wiped off all the beauty off your face, because you're allowing other people to define what God made you and the gifts that he blessed you with. And I think it's a travesty, because I think like I said before, it's insulting to God, because this is the body and the face and the personality that he gave you, and he wants you to shine. I mean, we need to sparkle, not in the world's eyes, because they're all crazy. The only opinion you need to be worrying about is God's. And we need to sparkle in his eyes. And if he can look down at you and see that you are all the woman that he had meant you to be, the plan that he's laid out for your life, the gifts that he's blessed you with, and you're using them to your full capacity, that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And you're not going to want for anything else, because we can get sucked in by society and them telling us what is beauty, and they don't know. Their solution is go buy something pretty, use this latest makeup, go, whatever, go get this latest plastic surgery or whatever. But that's not beauty. That's you're altering everything. I mean, now I'm like you. If you've got something terribly wrong with you and you want to fix it because it's just driving you crazy, a crooked nose or whatever, go get it done. I mean, those are things that are, I don't know, little defects on us, call them, so to speak. They're not that you're ugly, but you've got something that's just if you could just get that one little thing fixed, you'd be happy. Go do it. I mean, I'm all for that. But when you start making yourself into something you weren't even born like that, you're almost a different, complete person, then there I kind of draw the line, because you're putting so much on the exterior and you're not working on the inside at all, I don't think, because I'm like, you are it. You are the whole package from top to bottom, and you're gorgeous. But the only thing I keep coming back to is, once they get past and they see what's in the heart and what comes out of their mouth and the way they behave, then it's like the attraction is gone. That face doesn't matter anymore, and neither does that body. It's like it's all gone away. It doesn't have any glue. There's no glue to make a man want to stay with you,
It's that just inner unshakable confidence to be yourself through the seasons of life, and as society changes and things change, just being true to yourself. And I think being like a leader in your own life for yourself, and not like following everything, and
No, I've never followed anybody. I've always been the weird
if you
one.
could do anything, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, I've never really cared about that. That is one thing that I can credit myself with, by saying that I've never wanted to look like anybody else. I've never wanted to dress like anyone else. I don't even decorate my house like anybody else. You see all the YouTubers and they're all doing the same thing, or everybody just goes straight to Home Goods and they all pick out the same crap. And it's like, why would you want that? It's not you. It's not your personality. You're doing what someone has defined as in style.
Right.
Who cares? I want to look at things that are I've had pieces in my house for 30, 40 years, and I love them just like the day I bought them, because they bring me joy, and I love them. They haven't lost their beauty to me at all. And I'm not going to change the style of my house or myself. I've always been the oddball. I've always dressed different than everyone else. I've never really wanted to look like anybody. If anything, I'm trying to go the opposite way, because I want to stand out. I don't want to be like the rest of you people. So I'm glad that I don't let that stuff define me. And there have been other ladies in my life, older ladies that are so full of wisdom. I mean, they've got so much to contribute to younger women. And I have learned a lot from ladies that I remember my mom set me up with a lady in our church. She was an old lady, Hazel. And she wanted me to study the Bible with her. She wanted to have a Bible study with her. My mom did. And because my mom was hard of hearing, and it was real hard for her to, get things across when we were communicating. So she set this study up with Hazel, and I was digging my heels in. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to go. I got to go over there after school every Monday at 3:00. I was like, oh man, I thought I was going to be bored out of my mind. That lady taught me so much. I mean, even in the beginning, I was like, okay, well, maybe I could come here if I have to, and then before I was looking forward to going, because she taught me so much organizational skills. I mean, it wasn't just about the Bible study. God put me there for a reason, which I believe in his providence 200%. And I think that he puts you in places, even when the hard places that you don't want to go or you don't like it, but he knows it's what you need like you had Sally Gleason. Jeff just reminded me of that right now. When Sally was in your life, and she was instrumental. I'm sure you learned invaluable things from her, because we have these older mentors in our lives when we're younger for a reason. But we are blessed with that. And it's sad that society doesn't place more of a benefit or wisdom on that lets younger people recognize that in older people. They just think, oh, what do they know? They're old fashioned. They've got those crazy old ideas. What am I going to learn from them? I know everything. I went to college, you know, and they don't want to really take the time to investigate what that person has to offer when they're a wealth of knowledge. They're a treasure chest. The stuff they dole out is pearls of wisdom. And I learned so much even from the older ladies in my complex here. I mean, every one of them is so unique and they've all had such different lives. And I think it's because they've gone through the fire. I mean, most of these women that are in their 80s and 90s, they've lived through depressions, world wars. I mean, they've watched their whole family pass away one at a time. They've got just everything in there, and just the emotion, and they're built way different than we are. The women today, they're whine and cry babies. And I thought, I get so tired of hearing it, that the only thing they're worried about is like they're, oh, I put on the wrong, concealer today. It's like, come on, jeez, Maurice, people are dying, you nut. It's like but when you listen to the older ladies and they tell their stories, it's fascinating to me. It's like story time. You could listen to them for hours. So
yeah, it's amazing. I've always had friends of different ages, backgrounds, cultures across the whole United States. I mean, I probably have a friend in possibly almost every state of this country. Wow. And I take so much pride in that. I take so much pride that I don't have a group of girls that all look exactly like me, dress like me, come from the exact same religion. Like, there's nothing wrong with a bunch of me's, but it gets boring. It gets boring. Yeah, it's like, I'm so happy I have 25 Jenny Lynn's, but I take a ton of pride that I can enjoy people of all backgrounds and learn something from people, and learn how to respect people for who they are, which is always super different. So you guys, she mentioned Sally Gleason, who's been a dear friend of mine and also really like a mentor, or almost like a mother to me. Hope I've made you proud, Miss Glee. On the net, she calls me and she's like, Jenny, can you explain these pictures to me, darling? I'm like, now Connie's laughing because
I love Sally.
She's amazing, but she and I are ebony and ivory. I mean, she's a pastor's wife of 50 years, and I never heard her curse in my life, So when I talk about, the Legally Blonde bend and snap in front of a hot guy, I mean, she's just like, well, I want to talk, the last thing I want to visit in this is 25 years survivor of leukemia. So can you tell us, Con, about the story of being diagnosed and the chemo and the healing for inspiration for others that are, trying to heal themselves?
Well, we talked about this once before, so I don't want to go into the whole story, but the highlights were that I didn't have any symptoms really at all. And I went to the doctor just for a checkup, which is a way a lot of people get diagnosed. They find out about leukemias just because they're going for something else. And the doctor, I had a bruise on my leg. It wasn't going away. And she's like, how did you get that? And I said, I just did it in the garage. I was cleaning the garage, something fell on my leg. And so she said, well, let's do a blood test. And then it came back. It was my white count was like 40,000. And so then I set me up for bone marrow biopsies. I did all that. And within the matter of going to the doctor that one morning till 2 days later, they said I had a terminal form of leukemia, and they didn't give me very long to live. They said, go get your stuff in order. So they wanted to start, chemo right away, which I was dead set against doing because I thought I was gonna be able to take vitamins and cure myself. So stupid. Anyway, but what I did do is I took 6 months. I didn't start chemo right away. I took 6 months and I completely changed everything in my world. Literally. I mean, I threw out the microwave. I didn't use a blow dryer. I didn't have any EMFs, no radiation in my house whatsoever. I went on it with a nutritionist, and she made me eat just fruits and vegetables for 30 days. I lost 30 pounds immediately. And it wasn't from the leukemia, it was from her. But I felt better than I ever felt in my entire life. I looked better than I ever looked in my entire life. I was just, and I was like a house on fire. I felt so good, but my numbers kept going up and up and up and up. And I realized that even though I was in the best possible shape that I could, the leukemia was still marching on and I needed to do something. So by then, in that 6-month time, I went from 40,000 white count to 127,000. And that was, looking back, it was probably foolish and dangerous, but I did it because I needed to prove to myself I wasn't in a mindset yet that I could start doing chemo every day. I just couldn't. So when I resolved that, I talked with a friend of mine that also had leukemia. I met him through a network and he lived in Florida. And he goes, "What is your white count now?" And I told him, and he said, "Are you out of your mind?" He goes, "You need to start chemo tonight." He goes, "You call them right now and go get your medicine." And he scared the living daylights out of me. He said, "You could be dead in 2 days." And I'm like, "What?" So I was freaking out. So I called them. I had that prescription on standby the whole time, but I was just holding off on it. So I called him and I said, "Okay, I'm coming." And I went and I did it. That night they gave me, I had to get shots. And so I did the first shot at the place and I went home. It was like 7 o'clock. I was like, "I'm not feeling anything. This is nothing." Oh my God, was I so wrong. 2 hours later, I was like, I couldn't even move. I was shaking. I was freezing. I was burning up. I was so sick. And I looked at my husband and I was like, "They want me to do this every day for the rest of my life till I die." I'm like, "Are they out of their minds? I can't put up with this for 2 hours, let alone for every day." But I went back and then they taught me how to do the injections and I was just doing them at home. So I was just giving myself the shots in my stomach every day and my white count went all the way down. I mean, went down to 0. I mean, not 0, was like at about 3 or 4, which, that was even too low. But I did that. I just kept it up and I stayed like that for about 4 years. I had to do it every day for 4 years. No hair. I was just a mess, but I felt I was adjusting to it. I wasn't happy, but I was adjusting to it. I knew when I could do things and when I couldn't. So I was good, but my doctor's like, "You know what? Your PCR tests, which is the chromosome test, which tells if the leukemia is still in your bone marrow," he said, "they're all negative." He goes, "Why don't we just take you off for a while?" And I'm like, "Heck no. If I go off this, it's going to come right back and I'll be dead." So he's like, "No," he goes, "You need a break." He goes, "We need to stop for a little bit." So he goes, "If I see any movement, we'll go right back on." So I did that. And the first month I was fine. The next month I was fine. The next month I was fine. And before you know it, it was a year and I hadn't had any medicine, which is highly, highly rare. Hardly nobody has that outcome because by all practical purposes, this is 1997, mind you. Everyone that got that kind of leukemia, everybody in my network is gone. That I'm the only survivor. So it was definitely a miracle from God. There's no other explanation. And the people now that are still kind of surviving that get it now, they have so many new drugs. In the last 25 years, they've come up with a lot of things, but people can live their lives with that same kind of leukemia now. But in those days, nobody survived, nobody. So anyway, needless to say, I stayed off the medicine and I've been, actually January 29th this month is my 25 years. I was diagnosed January 29th, 1997. So this is 25 years, but for 4 years in the very beginning, I did the chemo, but it's just, it changes your whole life. Obviously, you can ask anybody that's been faced with their mortality, that if you don't have the hope, if you're not afraid to die, you're not afraid to live. And I had to get over that fear. If you can just resolve that you're not gripped by fear every day that you're going to die and just say, "You know what, whatever God's will is, let it be. If he wants me to go now, then I have to accept that." I did everything I could. I've been with nutritionists. I'm taking every vitamin. I'm doing the chemo. I'm resting. I'm doing everything I could possibly do to keep myself alive. But if I'm still inevitably going to die, then that's what's going to happen. So once you are not afraid to die, then you can live because you're not paralyzed by that. It doesn't have death has no grip on you anymore because my salvation is secure and I know where I'm going. And this is in our real life anyway. Everyone is going to die at some point. So once you get past that, some people just are going to go sooner, but you know, not to say that you want to, you're not rejoicing in that, but you know, if it is God's will for your life, I have to, you know, you have to, it's not easy to accept God's will. A lot of times we don't want it. We don't like it. It doesn't feel like love. We start questioning, is this really what a loving God would do? Well, you know what? He can do what he wants. This is his universe. And if my death is going to help someone else or guide someone else in the right direction, because believe me, when you are told you're going to die, everything that comes out of your mouth is all of a sudden important to everybody because they think you know something. It's like, so if I could help people, and I did, I had a huge ministry of people that I could minister to that were going through the same thing as me. And I was able to help them. And even people that didn't have terminal illnesses, they just were newly diagnosed with some cancer. And they'd be like, you know, what are you so happy about? It's like, well, I'm not overjoyed about it, but you know what? I'm going to live every single day to its fullest because, and we should all live that way every day. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't take a diagnosis for you to get your life right, you know, and all of a sudden be the person you're supposed to be, because people are terrified. And then all of a sudden they want to do everything right. You know, it's like, that it doesn't matter. I mean, you should be doing that. I told that to my husband. I said, you know what? Every single person alive should get a diagnosis that they're going to die. Because I said, all of a sudden, you're not a jackass anymore. You start treating people differently. You are kinder, nicer, sweeter, because you realize that all that fussing and fighting and arguing and yelling, it doesn't mean anything at the end. It doesn't mean anything. People, I just watched a whole thing that said that when people die, they have studies now, scientific studies, that your brain stays alive for 10 minutes after you're dead. And that is, when I first read it, I thought that's terrifying because you can't communicate, but it's still going. This goes for 10 more minutes. When from here down, it's gone, completely dead. The heart stopped, everything's gone, but you're still got that little bit of conscious. And they said they've seen they'll have like an MRI or a CAT scan of a person whose body is already gone. But in that 10 minutes, the activity is like, it's like when people say, oh, when you're going to die, your whole life flashes before your eyes. That's basically what they're saying. And I said to Jeff, I said, I don't think people are remembering the good things because that's a given. I think they're thinking about all the regrets, the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Why was I that mean? Why was I a jerk? Why didn't I tell that person I loved them? Why, it's all the things we didn't do that you are thinking about right then, not the things you did, because you're happy with that stuff. There's no angst there. It's that guilt of all the missed opportunities, I think at that moment too, you realize exactly where you're going, because we're Christian and we know what God says when we die, and we know where we're going to go when we die. And I think, if we're not claiming him as our Lord and Savior, and we're not living our lives the way he wants us to, I would be very afraid. I mean, I would be fearful of that, because I wouldn't want to spend an eternity separated from God. I mean, it's because all this doesn't matter. I mean, if this is all there is, 70, 80 years, don't you want more than this? It's like, if someone gave you an opportunity to have 15, 20 more years, you'd be going, okay, what do I got to do? It's like, you would do it. Now, if someone's offering you a gift of eternally living, even after this old body is gone, you'd be jumping at that. So it's very simple, and God doesn't make it complicated for us. But I think in having that diagnosis, it brings all that up close and personal. It's not like you think, oh, I'm only 66. I got another 20, 30 years. I don't need to worry about that. But when you are told you're going to be gone in a minute, then all of a sudden you're like, everything's in fast motion, and you're living your life the way you should all of a sudden, when, it's ridiculous that you have to have that to do it, because you're either too lazy, too stupid, or too ignorant, or too, rotten, that you didn't want to live that way before, because we're selfish. We just are. We put ourselves first too much, instead of, my girlfriend lives that way. It's called joy. And It's Jesus first, others second, and you are last. If you live your life in that order, you'll never go wrong, you know.
Do you feel that you didn't live life full out before your diagnosis and that you did after, or you were always decent at living life full out, but it took it to another level?
I know that's the way I felt. I mean, I felt like I was safe and I was okay because I was always a Christian. I mean, my whole life. But I felt like I wasn't in high gear. I wasn't loving God to my full potential. Put it that way. I didn't look like every person I had to see, or I didn't look at them as a ministry. I didn't look at like, how can I share Christ with that person? I mean, you know, I wasn't seeking out opportunities to help people. And, you know, but now I do. I mean, now I look at my life completely differently. I mean, I feel like I went from being in the slow lane on the freeway to the diamond lane. And now I'm like, you're hauling butt, but you're doing it for God. And I'm not living my life for Connie only. And God's, you know, he's next to me. It's fine. You know, I'm good. No, everything is about, like the bracelet. What would Jesus do? Well, I tell you, half the time we're not doing what Jesus would do. We're doing what we would do. We put our name in there. So I think if we have that mind, if our attitude is right, then there's no way we're not going to be able to accept what God gives us. I mean, if we realize our life is just a mist here and it's so short, it's so short. And if we keep God in the forefront and we seek every day to get up every day for just a new opportunity. I mean, I screw up every day. Every day I screw something up, and I ask for forgiveness, and I put my head on my pillow at night and I feel relieved that I know he does forgive us. And that's what his grace and mercy is for. But tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you got another opportunity to start all over again. And let's do better than we did yesterday. So yeah, it's definitely, there isn't anybody who doesn't live their life differently. I can't say that. I do know people that have came this close to death.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, they're all like, oh yeah, everything is Jesus this, and oh, it was a miracle. And then a month later, don't even remember what happened.
Wow.
They're right back to their old rotten, stupid self, selfish, jerky. You know, it's like they don't understand. It was not transforming their lives. God allows things in our lives to correct or perfect. And even when we have horrible things like cancer affect us, and then if it doesn't change you, nothing's going to change you. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like that he allows those things to transform you and to make you more Christ, to live your life like Christ. But if you don't get the message, I mean, and he just hit you in the head with a 2x4, I feel sorry for you. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's like, you got to do the hard work, and it's not always easy because we like what we like, and we are selfish, and we want our time and stuff to be our own, but we don't belong to ourselves. You know, when you choose to be a Christian, that means you're choosing to follow Christ, and following Christ means being Christ-like. It's not, when everybody was writing Happy New Year on, you know, Facebook, 10,000, I got 1 million of those things. And I said, no, it's not a Happy New Year. Let's make it a Holy New Year. Because if you're holy and living your life that way, then you're going to be happy. It's a given. You can't be holy and not be happy. It's just, you don't look at the world the same way anymore, because I think about, because we get that backwards a lot, that our happiness is the main reason we're here. I hear people say that all the time. Well, it's all about what you want. It's all about being happy. God wants you to be happy. Well, yeah, he does. But he wants you to be happy his way. He wants you to be holy first. And then you're going to have that internal, my mom's joy that's just going to burst out of you, because you can't contain that, you know?
Yeah. Do you, I mean, I guess maybe this is a helpful question for people that are healing from something or facing death. Do you cringe every year you have to go in for another test? Are you afraid of death?
Oh, I go every 3 months. How
do you feel? Or are you not afraid of death?
My stomach does roll over. I cannot say that it doesn't, because the last few years there's 2 tests, 2 chromosome tests. One is just the basic outer one, and then one is highly, highly sensitive. The one that goes all the way down to your DNA. Now that DNA one, my outer one comes out fine all the time. And so does all my blood work. And the first chromosome test is good. But the second chromosome test the last few years has been coming back positive. But it's the smallest minute amount. It's like microscopic. And so my doctor's like, we're not going to do anything about it because it could just be residual that's been left over. And he said, but if something starts to move and that number starts to go up, then we're going to look at it, But he goes, as long as it's staying in the number that it is, which is it's 0.00002 or something. It's almost nothing. And he said they got new machines now. There's new, more sensitive machines. And he said those machines are picking up way more than the older machines. So I could have been positive even before, but I just didn't know. But the fact that I've even survived 25 years with no medicine whatsoever is in itself, a miracle. So, and I give all the glory to God, because that doesn't happen. And I've been to enough of my friends' funerals with leukemia that I know that I'm blessed beyond belief. I don't know why. I could ask that all day long. Why did they all die? Why am I here? I have no idea, but I know that I'm not here for nothing. I know that God meant it to change me, and I know He meant it for me to share that testimony, because you can't have a test and have a testimony. You only have a testimony because you went through a test, and now all of a sudden you're still here to talk about it. So, I mean, those are the things. If somebody lived a boring life and nothing ever happened to them, what would they have to talk about? It's like, there's nothing. It's the hardships and the struggles that we are like, oh my gosh, how did you do it? Those are the things that make people, enamored with whatever you're saying. And it's true. I mean, people listen to people that have faced death. It's like when you hear about people, oh, I died for 45 minutes and they revived me, and you want to hear the whole story. It's like, let's write a book, let's make a movie, because all of a sudden it's intriguing, and I feel like, a part of you, when you get those kind of diagnoses, you can have two choices. You can just wallow in it and let it, the fear of you dying take control, because that's exactly what the devil wants you to do. He wants you to be mad at God. He wants you to say, what do you think you're doing? I was a good person? Why do I have this diagnosis? Why are you letting this happen to me? You're supposed to be a loving God. And that's how people walk away from Him. And that's exactly what the devil wants. But, you got to look at it. If you truly know God's providence, then you understand that everything is, He does things for our benefit. And sometimes it isn't even about us. It's like, like I said, if I did die when I was doing my chemo and it didn't work or whatever, but I was able to help a nurse at the hospital or someone in my family or whatever come to know the Lord, then it's worth it, because I'm already secure. It's the other people out there that we're concerned about, Yeah.
Do you have any last advice for anybody that's like in the battle right now?
You know what? There's nothing you can do that's going to be more important than being closer to God. So I think prayer, because there was days that I didn't think I was even going to be able to do one more of anything. I didn't want another bone marrow biopsy. I didn't want another chemo shot in my stomach. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. It wasn't that I couldn't. I don't believe in can't. I believe in don't want to. It's that you won't. So I think when you're there and when you have those hard days, because they're going to be there. Sometimes it's hard the whole time. Sometimes it's a suffering the whole time when people have really bad, cancers they're just in excruciating pain all day long on morphine. I mean, God's right there with you. I mean, even the Bible tells us, when we cry, He cries. He saves. There's a scripture that says He saves every tear that we've shed in a bottle, and He knows exactly how we feel. And so, yeah, that's exactly the way Christ suffered. And, He knows exactly how we feel about all that, because when He was fully man, He fully suffered the way some people are suffering now. So prayer is probably the most essential thing. And when I was done praying and I couldn't pray anymore, I didn't have any more words. It would be just like I would just sit there and say, God, because I couldn't voice it all over again. I don't, I just didn't want to do that. So, okay, my husband wants to get in on this interview. He's just reiterating that there's not going to be any more death because he's already claimed victory over it. So I think for listening to praise music really helped me too. I listened to that before. I was a disco girl. Let me tell you, I had disco 24/7. I love disco music. So, but when I was diagnosed and I was having those, that did not bring me comfort. It was aggravating to me pretty much. I would put on beautiful, like Maranatha or some kind of beautiful, just praise worship that's very calming. And it would just take me down a notch and bring me to that place where it slows down your breathing and and I would just reflect on the blessings, because that's really all you've got. Reflect on what you've got, not what you don't, and just keep bringing that to mind. So I being on your knees to prayer is probably the only thing you can really do. And to just get yourself as healthy as you can. Stop. I mean, if you smoke, stop. If you drink, stop. If you're taking any drugs, stop. I mean, it's like, whatever it is, you need to clean the house as best you can so that while you're doing any kind of radiation or chemo, your body is in the best athletic shape it could possibly be in to accept the medicine and make things work. Because the more you compound yourself with any kind of abusive behavior, it's going to be a battle. You're making it even worse. Mm-hmm. So even though I had that crazy nutritionist, I loved her because, I mean, she put me in a place where I needed to be before I started going to war with the chemo. So, yeah.
It sounds like too, Connie, you really listen to that voice within, which would be God, but meaning like to kind of find the sweet spot. Like, okay, mm-hmm. I'm going to go for what the doctor says here. I'm going to do what I can here. I'm going to clean up my diet here. I'm going to rest here. It was almost like you just sort of put together your own little cake and was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This feels as balanced and full out as I can do it.
Yeah. And you have to you have to do everything you can do that's in your means, and then you give it to God, because it's like there's nothing else you can do when when you've done it all, and then it's just kind of like a wait and see. And if God blesses that and his will is for you to stay alive, then then you need to figure out, if I come out on the other side of this battle, what am I supposed to be doing? Because it ain't going back to the same thing you used to do, because there was a reason you went through that battle. I mean, they don't fight wars for nothing. It's over something. So once you realize what it is that he wants you to change in your life and what he wants you to correct and the lane he wants you to be in, I mean, those are the people that are going to thrive. You get it, you've got it. You loud and clear, that message is in your head now. But I mean, don't ever let yourself just forget where you were, because that's a travesty. You did all that for nothing.
It's interesting too. Like, it's like you have this yin and this yang, like this fighter spirit, this focused mind, yet a total surrender to God. Like just a total, it was like you went both ways at the same time. A full surrender with a full effort and a full out forward press.
Yeah. Well, scripture says in your weakness, you are made strong. Mm-hmm. And, the minute you are broken and it's not about my will and what I want and my spirit, it's totally God. And when the Holy Spirit is poured on you like that, in that way, you're undefeatable. I mean, you're unstoppable. You can do anything if you have God with you. I mean, because I look at people that don't believe in God, that are going through these things, and they're a mess. They're like a wreck, because they're terrified of dying. They don't know what's going to happen. They're fearful of what's on the other side. I mean, and then they're suffering on top of all of that. So they're mad, they're angry, they're frustrated, they're hurt. It's just a whole bag of negativity. When you look at Christian people, we had a pastor that he did end up passing away, but he had a really bad cancer, and everybody that went to visit him, they were going there to uplift him. He was uplifting them. They walked out of his room like, man, I mean, because he was just on it. And he was like, whatever happens, he goes, I have no fear in this camp at all. He said, this camp is going. And he said, whatever God wants of me, he said, I will do. And I accepted it. And that's what I was saying, once you get past the fear of dying is when you can truly live. And then you can pour it on, and you can live your life to the fullest.
Yeah, like facing every fear, just looking it right in the eye and just saying, right,
like saying, not today, Satan.
Yeah, back it up.
I have a t-shirt that says that. I love it.
Yeah,
today, Satan. You ain't getting this, girl.
No. Don't throw my red bottoms at you.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you, Connie. I don't know.
Thank you.
Say, but it was just
I
so
love chit-chatting with you. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody else but me and you, but at least we got to talk.
Well, it matters. So who cares? So yes, guys, I'm going to put Connie's stuff in the description box below. If for some reason you want to shoot her an email or you are interested in just what she's selling on the internet or whatever, you can contact her. And my links will be in the link tree below. And thank you, Connie, so much.
Thank you so much, my sweet. Stay safe. And I love you, and be safe over in your wild, crazy New York City over there. Keep your mask on and don't breathe by anybody, okay? All right, honey. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.